All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order. From the City of Monona Planning Commission, Monday, September 9th. Roll call.
Mr. Peterson?
Here.
Alder Thomas?
Here.
Chair Moore?
Here.
Mr. Holmquist?
Here.
Mr. Stein?
Here.
Ms. Fallett?
Here.
Mr. Holmberg?
Here.
Ms. Fox is excused.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from August 12th?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any corrections, additions, changes to the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Minutes carry. There are no appearances. Unfinished business, we have none, so we'll move right to new business. Number A, public hearing on the sign permit request by H.A. Langer for one new on-site directional sign at 320 West Broadway, case number S-032-2019. Would you like to come up to the podium?
Sure.
And, yep, and address us? Thank you. Tell us what we need to know about the sign.
We can open the other one too. couldn't we?
Well, thank you guys for coming in just for me, because I think I've got both of your agenda items tonight.
Okay.
So for this sign, what we're working on is we've got an issue at the property where people don't really know where to enter for retail clients. People come into the parking lot and the walk-up is not very descriptive for how you get actually back to the side retail clients. And the business has quite a few customers that end up coming right in the front doors, which is actually just their tenant entrance for their apartments that they have within there. And there's not front door access to the businesses once they're inside. So we're requesting just a small ground directional, just to help people as they walk up, just to point them back towards those retail businesses without ending up in there.
Okay, great. Would anybody else like to say anything about this before we close the public hearing on
No,
this?
I'm just representing management. We probably
Okay.
have in the first.
If you could, yeah, if you could come up to the podium, that would
So
be great.
just in the first month or so that we owned the property, we were probably having a dozen of people a day come into the lobby and ask where the salon that just opened is and the yoga studio. Most people know where the restaurant is, but the other three, we put up a little sandwich board sign, which you might have seen on the property, and it basically went to zero after that, maybe one or two a day. So I think that the sign that they've designed and that we're requesting will make a big difference in terms of driving traffic to the businesses, which I think everyone wants to succeed.
Terrific. And as long as you're up there, could you state your name
Oh,
and
yeah, I'm
affiliation?
Jeff Swire.
Thank you.
I'm one of the owners of
Thank
Yahara
you.
Terrace.
Thank you. Terrific. So we'll close the public hearing section and go to B, consideration of action on sign permit request by H.A. Langer for one new on-site directional sign at 320 West Broadway, case number S-032-2019. Doug.
Thank you. Yes, so this is a new wayfinding sign for the Yahara Terrace as it's been renamed and rebranded, as well as for the businesses right there. It wasn't included in the original comprehensive sign plan, which I included in the packet, so that it just needs Plan Commission approval. In terms of comments, staff belief is that it meets the intent of the on-site directional sign. It includes the arrow or symbol that directs people to a specific destination within the development or site. It does exceed both the size, the maximum area, as well as the height for this category. So there would be a couple exceptions that would be needed for this. In terms of its function, it provides wayfinding assistance to pedestrians for this mixed-use site, and will potentially and hopefully eradicate some of the confusion with people going to finding their intended destination. It's modest in size for the size of the development, and it's also only one-sided. It sort of backs onto another piece that's on the site, so it would just be one face of the site as well. So,
Okay.
thanks.
Great. Thank you. I'd like to open it up for questions. Chris, if you'd like, if you could come back up to the podium and actually also introduce yourself, if you
Yes.
would.
Sorry, I'm
And
Luke
then we'll be
Severson
happy.
with Sign Art Studio.
Great, thank you.
I think the sign is wholly appropriate for the size and scope of that development. I think we are looking at granting an exception, so we just have to make sure we put a few findings of facts down that why we're granting that exception.
Right.
But I have no issue with it, and you're not planning to illuminate it.
Nope.
Okay, so I just would ask that we have a note in here that's not being illuminated, so if they decide to do it in the future, they would be aware of the fact that permits, and this one would never get some permits.
Okay, thank you. Maureen?
I think it'll be great. I've experienced that, so, at that property.
Rob?
I think it's appropriate. No, anything else to add?
Yep. Brian?
Yeah, no concerns with that. I actually think one of the finding of facts is behind it, the big transformer box.
Sure.
Landscaping has done a nice job, but in addition, this is just another way to help screen that ugly box and help people know where to go. Another part, I think, with the size issue has to do with, I think some of our wayfinding signs, or the intention really was a single directional movement, where this is multi, and you just need that amount of space to be able to do it, and the height seems proportional, and also for the screening piece. I think if you did much lower, no one's gonna look at it, so looks great. Are we also taking into account the resident parking sign in the same item?
No, no, that can be approved administratively.
Perfect. I thought so. I just wanted to be sure.
Thomas?
I think it's fine. The one thing I would question is, have you guys checked, is it visible at night? Because it's not going to be lit, and
I don't know for sure how the parking light is over there, so I don't know how visible it will be at night
There's a-
personally, but maybe you can
There's a
speak.
bollard right in front of it that's, it's
Yeah.
a lighted bollard. I don't know what type of throw that bollard.
It's adjacent to the parking lot, so you
So-
should get some illumination from that. But most of the three, other the yoga studio, the salon, and the fitness personal trainer, their hours don't go into night, to my knowledge. I know for a fact that the yoga studio doesn't go past 6:30. And the restaurant has the big lighted sign on the back.
Okay.
People find that, so.
Okay.
Nothing for me.
Seems appropriate. Great. So, do I have a motion, perhaps with some findings of fact? Yeah.
Move approval with the findings of fact as to why we're allowing an exception to the height and the size of the sign. Number one, that this is a large commercial area with multiple suites, which has a demonstrated confusion as to the location and path to get to them. Number two, that the sign helps screen, although the sign's 5 foot tall, it helps screen a transformer that's 5.5 foot tall right behind it, which helps the aesthetics of the site. And number three, they're not proposing to add logos. And number four, that it fits with the size and the scale of the development.
second.
Second? We have a second? Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to C. You can stay right where you are. Public hearing on the request of Galway Companies for one new on-site directional sign at 800 West Broadway, case number S033-2019. Go right
Again,
ahead.
Luke Severson, Sign Art Studio. Here what we're proposing is a garage sign. It's a parking garage sign to call out the parking garage for the tenants. We feel that it's important that we try to do everything we can to lessen the amount of tenant parking up in the main lot, as there already has been some talk about not enough parking up there for the retail customers that are already open. So, yeah, we want to just help direct the tenant parking down to their own lot.
Thank you. We will, unless you have something else to say, we'll close the public hearing. And we'll move to D, consideration of action on the request by Galway Companies for one new on-site directional sign at 800 West Broadway, case number S0332019. Do you have anything else to add before we open it up for questions?
I don't think so. I can
Okay,
answer
sure.
whatever questions you have.
Doug?
Thank you. Very similar to the last application, the same category on-site directional sign. It exceeds the area as well as the mounted height, and this one with the name and logo as well for the current. And then this one, the category allows for ambient lighting, but this is, I think, my understanding is it's more intense lighting than the category would allow. It does identify, sort of a covered parking garage, so it has function there. Also, access off Inland Way. Staff comment really is that this is vehicle speeds would be potentially higher than maybe on an internal site. I think the standards were generally written for. So I think this isn't sort of something that's all that common in Monona. So I think, they could be grounds for the exception to be granted.
Questions? Chris?
Again, it's just like the last one. I think it's appropriate to the building, appropriate to the site. I think it's important to get people to recognize where that parking ramp is and get them to come. I think the fact that they're using a logo, we normally don't allow. In this case, everybody that's branded, that building's branded so well, so the people that know that logo and are looking for where they should be going, it's automatic. I think it helps recognition for the tenants. It exceeds our size, but in this application, it has to, because it's going above a parking ramp. And it exceeds that height, I should have said. And the size it exceeds, but I think it's important for passerbys to be able to recognize where that is without creating a traffic issue. So I think the proposal is tasteful and is highly appropriate for the application.
Okay, great.
My question is, will everyone who's coming to this site know that the current is the apartments and not the development?
Right.
And so I could see people coming for the restaurant thinking, I can't find anything on the surface lot, I'm gonna go down here because that's parking. So I don't know if it could say tenant garage, just to
Or
provide
residents
a little,
only
or
or something.
residents, yeah, some kind of clarification to avoid people driving down there and then getting stuck and not knowing where to go. And I also thought, can't they inform the residents to park? I mean, I don't mind the sign, but it seems like that's a communication between the management and the tenants.
I would have the same question because guests are, if I'm going to visit someone at Current, I'm not supposed to park in front. So if I pull in here and it's not a sign, and I don't care if it's here or inside that says tenants only, I'm going to think if I'm going to visit someone at Current, that perhaps I can park there.
I had a similar thought, especially with the city park being so nearby. You can see, especially in the winter, when folks want to go ice skating, covered parking is a real benefit in the winter. There might be some confusion there.
So I think even if you don't do it on this, immediately on the inside of the garage, you should say tenants only or something. Otherwise, visitors are going to park there.
Sure.
I think.
Understood.
Right. Rob?
Knowing that parking is going to be an issue on this development, fear of that, I think anything to help facilitate flow and function is a good thing, and I think given that face and what it's doing is totally appropriate. I think it matches the building and what's being done there. I don't have an issue with it.
Ryan?
Looks good. And everybody already mentioned what I had questions on, so.
Right. Anything else on this? No? Okay, so, Chris?
Given that it was identified, the owners aren't here, but residents only happens to be the exact same number of letters as parking garage. So could we have parking garage with residents only below it, and the whole could be right on that sign? It's the same exact number of letters. Just think of the symmetry, the thing you could create with your sign.
Yeah?
I don't know what everybody think. necessarily like to do it, but we could at least give the owner option of, you know, parking garage, residents only.
Yeah, there isn't a door on that garage, is there?
Side door?
No, I mean, like,
A main.
some
Oh,
garages, when
Yeah.
there's underground parking, there's a door on
Yeah,
it.
there's a door.
Boy,
There, I drove by today,
Yeah.
it looked open.
It could be open, but they're limiting access with it. Because otherwise, what there'd be, I don't care what the sign says, you could go park in there, and what are they going to do?
Yeah, I saw the door down today when I drove by.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's a valid concern, and it would help that. And if they really don't like it, they can come back.
Right. Okay, do I have a motion?
Move approval with recommendation as written by staff, add in a finding of fact that the logo is used extensively in the development will help people recognize a major entrance for the tenants. 2, because of the function and location of the sign, it has to be higher than 6 feet. And 3, that the size is appropriate to the scale of the building and the need to provide recognition of entrance from a distance. And add condition 3, that the sign where it says parking garage should also have residents only on it.
Would that be, would it be an option for us to add that, like, say, to the door or something, instead of adding it to the sign itself? Just looking at outside options.
We need a second before we can discuss it.
I'll second.
Okay. Discussion.
I'm not sure people would see that if they're looking at the thing that says, the current parking garage, and then down here, there's a sign that says residents only. I mean, it could be, and it could be something the owner comes back to. I'm not sure how everybody else feels. Is that something you think you would recognize right away?
well,
Or would you
and,
try to peel in there?
and if I'm coming along, today when I came along that road, the door was up. I don't know if someone was trying to get
Okay.
in or out, so you can't see it if the door is up.
Sure.
Right. Plus, I think part of that, there's still construction going on around there too, so I'm sure they're coming and going with materials, but it's a valid point.
But if I'm coming along
Right.
and I see a car turning in and the door's up,
You're gonna follow 'em.
I can't
Yeah.
see that it's residents
Right.
only if
Yep.
it's on the door.
Whereas it says the current parking garage residents only, if you recognize that's the current parking garage, you can't help but miss residents only.
Sure.
Well, or just tenant garage or resident garage. I mean, I don't know how you would design it, but
I just-
maybe it doesn't need all the words.
I just like the symmetry of 13 and 13.
Although 13's not such a lucky number.
It's a good number tonight.
Okay. So, we have a motion on the floor to, regarding adding a, sign to the door, do we not? As
Mhm.
opposed to above? I thought we had a second.
No, the
second
second
was-
was to add it to the sign we're approving.
Oh, okay, sorry,
Yeah.
I was.
The suggestion was,
Right.
can we do it? And we said, we need a second before we can even discuss it.
Got it.
Well, it
Got
would
it.
need it would need approval for that
Right.
as well, because it would be another sign on the building.
Right.
Right, which I think is a.
Right. Right.
To that, I would only ask, can we leave the language loose on what needs to be written there so that we can lay that out and design it as necessary to keep the design intent intact?
Yes, Chris?
Could I suggest that we give staff mild discretion to say something that fits what we said? But
Yeah,
if it-
absolutely.
but if it gets
Something
too
tenant-
much
Right.
removed from that, then
Right.
come on
Yep.
back.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it would be tenant parking or resident parking, but just
Right.
to give our designer a
Sure.
little bit of room to still make it.
Sure.
Sound reasonable?
That sounds reasonable.
It's good for the second.
Okay.
Yeah, good, okay.
Residents only or similar
At the discretion of
with
staff.
approval by staff. So that's an amendment to
Okay.
the motion.
Right.
Does that mean I'll have to come back?
No,
to
that,
it?
yeah, that means you'll have to
That
talk to
means
Doug
you'll
Just talk to
about
Doug,
it.
perfect.
Yep.
Approval
Yep.
by staff is what you wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
That's the key.
Okay, so, we have a motion on the floor, we have a second. Anything else before we take a vote? All those in favor say aye.
I,
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
We'll move on to number 7. Report from staff and commission members, staff report regarding status, development projects.
Thanks. Just a couple items I wanted to follow up on from previous meetings. The sign code article was published by MESBA last week in their email newsletter. It was just a short primer, really giving an update as to what happened with the sign code update. It links to a larger, a longer piece on our website that still has a few more details. So that is housed on the website now. It's under the planning and development section. So that'll stay there, and that'll be a good place to direct people if there are any larger questions for that. And also, Alder Thomas had asked last meeting about the breakwater opening hours with regard to Buck and Honey's and the others at that development. City staff have reached out to Breakwater discussing those and let them know that if they want to extend their hours, then they're welcome to come back in to do that.
Thank you. Do we have any updates as it relates to upcoming meetings?
Nothing at this time.
For the 23rd?
Correct. So there's some signage, but nothing other than that. So I'll try and consolidate as best as possible.
Would we not have something in the hopper already if we needed to meet on the 3rd when they have had to have submitted everything to you already?
I try to be a little more flexible with signage.
Okay.
Give them a shorter, but I have, it would just be one at this time, so I think it's fair. We can say the 23rd is off.
I have a question. I didn't receive an email notifying me that the last meeting was canceled. So
But she ran into me at the grocery store, so I.
So I'm not, and I had gotten all your other communications, so I'm not sure what happened there.
I'll look into that.
Because I went back and looked in my email as well, just to make sure I didn't find anything.
Yeah, I'll check that.
Okay, so we are officially canceling the September 23rd meeting?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Terrific. Any plan commission requests for information? Yes.
Request for information or comment.
Yes.
First on the sign code, I thought Douglas did a really nice job for both the MESBA article, put a positive spin on it, and then also for the overall article that went on our website. So hopefully that'll help and give some people some more information. Second, talked about this before, but Monona Drive trees, you know, when we did our Monona Drive landscape plan, part of what really made it special was the intensity of the landscaping. And I've talked about before, and then, well, we have a tree replacement program, yada, yada, yada. Well, I drive up and down, there's a couple of dead ones, but the replacement program to me looks like we pull the old ones and don't replace them, because you can see the spacing where the trees are missing, and it really sets off Monona Drive as something special for landscaping. So I wish we'd look at that, because that was part of the overall streetscape for the drive. 3, traditionally, and there's probably nobody left, Kathy maybe, Brian, you might remember, we've historically, if Packers happen to play on a Monday night, it's Plan Commission night, we typically try not to have a Plan Commission meeting that night, or if there's something very minor, we might have it a little early, but I'm here to let you know if it's at the regular time, I'll be missing. I have a very important engagement. So, food for thought. And then
And what upcoming Monday night?
October 14th.
October 14th is, silly me, I know I should know the calendar better than that, but the schedule, but.
It's you know, it's Wisconsin, eh? And last, when I was at the Current today, and I went around there, it's the problem we dreaded, and I know we fought hard for parking, but it's still at a premium there, and we're all hopeful that when the construction's done, there'll be less workers' vehicles. When the hotel's open, there'll be some overflow we talked about back and forth. I'm still a little worried about the parking there. I don't know where we can possibly add it now, but it brings me to my point. Then I went to look at the sign permit over at, what do we call it? Yahara Terrace. Yahara Terrace. And when we did the approval for that, we had the same discussion about, do you have enough parking for anything you're doing? Are you sure you've got enough parking? Well, we're going to build a lot across the road, probably a parking lot. We'll have valet parking for the restaurant and everything. And it got me thinking about that, and there have been some gentlemen in that tried to get an approval. I don't know if they'll be back or not, but they want to put an apartment building that didn't seem to be appropriate for the area. And I was doing more thinking, this is really out of the box, so it's really more for the 2 council members that happen to be here tonight, but they wanted us to participate and help to remediate the site. And it seems to me if instead we would perhaps purchase that site from them and put a parking lot over it. That's a cap. That would be a cap for all the contaminated soil. And, you know, we'd have to check, but I know I've talked to Jake, and he is really short of parking for boats and trailers at Lottis Park. I mean, really short. And if we could, in another area in Monona, where we've done it, we did it down there, we put in a parking lot for the current area, we put in a city street and a lot. If we could look at that and perhaps help us out at Lottis Park and hold it in our pocket if it's needed for the other place, or they ever do go to valet parking or something, it seems to me it's something the city should at least think about while there's still land available. Because looking at the current, I looked around and said, where can we fix this problem? We have nowhere to fix it. I'm very thankful that we added, what was it, 30, 40 stalls to the project? And then we were told, I'm sure we have enough stalls now. Well, we hope all these projects, yours included, are wildly successful. But we need to plan for it being wildly successful. It's just a thought for council members. It's something maybe we could at least think about, talk about. Maybe they wouldn't even want to do it, but I know that, what am I going to do with the lot? You know, I bought this. I'm sure we could look up what they paid for it, but putting a parking lot out would cap the soils. They were remediated once, but not to the extent that DNR requires now. And if we put a parking lot over it, that problem solved. Instead of spending money to remediate it, maybe we spent the money and we have an overflow lot for Lottis Park, and if needed for the other commercial developments in that area. Because we have a lot of commercial developments around there, and we have a shortage of parking, and we've seen now with the current what that does. So, just food for thought.
We could put a bridge from the parking lot to the,
Yeah, nice walk path, $1
right
million
over.
walk path.
Oh,
yeah,
no, I was
sure.
thinking over the river, we could have a bridge.
Yeah. That's even broader thinking than I was doing. It's a great idea.
Thank you.
Sure.
Do we have the impression, do we have any way of knowing whether the overflow parking there is, well, obviously, we still have the construction going on, but beyond that, do we have a sense that residents are parking outside instead of under?
Well, that's what the gentleman had mentioned.
Right,
And if we
right,
can get them underneath, that will help. Certainly, we looked at shared parking, so I think there's going to be some shared uses between the hotel and the rest of it.
Right.
And there's actually even shared parking that transfers over to the bank. So during regular business hours,
Right.
the bank will generally overflow perhaps in the hotel, but after hours and on weekends when the bank's not open, then they
right.
share that parking. So there's some shifting back and forth. But we haven't even scheduled any programs in that park yet. Where are you going to park? Where's somebody going to park when they want to come down to the programs in that park? There's nothing right now.
Cranberry Creek has lots of spaces if we could, but they may get
Right.
busier and be open, because they're not open except for Friday nights at,
Perhaps. But
in the
we
evening.
Likely we'd have to get a permit from Madison, maybe not, maybe we just have a permit right with, or an agreement right with Cranberry Creek, and that's a
Yeah.
good thought.
Yeah.
But it makes me
Yeah.
think about the parking
Sure.
everywhere else, and
Sure.
before it's too late where we have no possible solution,
Right.
something we should at least chew on.
Sure. Great. Okay, thank you. Anything else from commission members? Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move adjournment.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.